used in that middle progressive sanctification, that thing that Janet referenced in her song, and what Rick said in his prayer. This is what it says, 1 Thessalonians 4, chapter 3. For this is the will of God. The will of God, it doesn't always mean the same thing. Sometimes it means the sovereign, determinative will of God. Let there be light. Well, God, I'd rather not have light. I've got a hangover. Those things that God sovereignly declares are going to happen. Then there's the permissive will of God. These are the things that He wants to happen, but He gives us the freedom to choose. And that's what we're talking about here. For this is the will of God, your sanctification. This is progressive sanctification. This is what we do ourselves to be a vessel suitable to Him, a vessel of honor, pleasing to Him. This is the will of God, your sanctification, and He specifically identifies that with sexual immorality, because it's probably more rampant in our society than it was in theirs, but it's a problem for sinful human beings. Even believers struggle with sexual immorality. That's not God's will for you and me. Period. One other verse. 1 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 12. Well, let's back up to verse 10. You are witnesses, and so is God, how devoutly and uprightly and blamelessly we behave toward you believers. See, how we behave is important to God and to the people around us. Paul is using his own personal example as a foundation for what he's about to say. Just as you know how we were exhorting and encouraging and imploring, three very important words, each one of you as a father would his own children. Why do we try to discipline our children? Why do we want them? Do we want to spoil their fun? Or do we want to protect them from their own tendency to disobedience? And let's call it what it is, sin. You know, when you see sin in a 2-year-old, you know there's something wrong with basic human nature. Now, they can be very sweet and sharing and generous, but more often they sound like seagulls, right? Mine, mine, mine. That's the sin nature. So that imploring each one of you as a father would his own children, so that you may walk in a manner worthy of the God who calls you into His own kingdom and glory. And here's the bottom line. He's laid a theological foundation. He's made practical application. And then he returns to the theological foundation. For several reasons. For one, he knows we're going to blow it. They're going to take what Paul says in this letter and they're going to twist it around. They're going to get all messed up. So within a few months, he's going to write another letter to try to straighten it out. This is our sinful human nature. We need to understand this struggle. This progressive sanctification is a lifelong battle with self. My favorite modern philosopher, Pogo. Remember the comic strip? He said, I have met the enemy, and he is me. And that's the reality we live with. It's the reality we live with, folks. But God has freed us. He's made it possible for us to choose not to sin. Why don't we throw that switch? Why don't we exercise resurrection power? Why do we use our hairdryer and heater at the same time and blow the circuit breaker and cause a fire? We haven't done that yet. Because we're in this battle. God wants to give us, He wants to see us have victory. He's given us the Spirit. We have all the tools. I've got a whole bunch of tools in my garage. It took us 2 days to change the light bulb on the garage. Gordon had to come and do it for me. We've got the tools. Why don't we throw that switch? At least sometimes. We have resurrection power. We no longer have to sin. We're not bound by sin and darkness. We have the love of Christ. You know what the most powerful force in the universe is? It's not black holes. It's not nuclear explosions. It's the love of Christ. Paul says that compels me. That controls me. That changes me. It makes me something I want to be, even when I struggle with what I don't want to be. I got about 30 more minutes if you. Let's pray. Father, you are so awesome. You take so much heat from your sinful creation. We blame you for the bad things that happen. We refuse to accept you because you are sovereign and we don't want you to control our lives, and you don't. It's ignorance. We don't understand the balance. We don't know what you're doing, and people in their ignorance are rejecting you, and they're not listening. They don't want to listen. And they can't listen unless you call them. And on the one hand, Father, that's disturbing because some of them are people we love. But on the other hand, Father, all we can do, we're just messengers. You have to do the work. Justification is a complete and perfect work that you do in the lives of every believer. And it predestines them to be conformed to the image of your Son. Perfect sanctification, freedom from the very presence of sin. But what about the dash? The better our understanding of you and what you're doing in the world, the more able we are to live that dash in a way that brings glory and honor to your name. So Lord, I'm just asking you that something that we've shared from your word today would make a difference in the lives of your people. And I ask it with all my heart. In Jesus' perfect name.
Just to be near the dear Lord.
Let's pray. Father God, as we look at our tombstone, as we're preparing to leave, if there's anyone here today that doesn't have a rebirth date, doesn't absolutely know that they have life in Christ, that they have your perfect sanctification, the glorification of these physical bodies to look forward to, Father God, would you speak to them just now before we leave? Would you open their minds and hearts to the worth, the truth of the gospel? Would you enable them to see Jesus on the cross? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If he could pray that for the people who crucified him, Father God, there's no one here today that can't accept your forgiveness. Father God, we leave to go back into the world. I'm not so concerned about the glory that comes only that it reflects your glory. Would you help us to do that? That whatever glory comes our way, whatever we do that's worth, that is recognized by the world or the people, that it would reflect glory on you. That's why we're here. We need to understand that. So, Father, be with your people. Help us to be your people. Help us to live like your people. Help us to believe like your people. And help us to make a difference, because that's what you've called us to do. In Jesus' precious and holy name. Amen. Amen.
Lord.